Sorry, Professor Semmingson, can you repeat that? When the recording went on, it cut out for a long period of time. We heard you up until it was well organized, and then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, my audio is acting weird. It was well organized. The clarity was good. The coherence was really good. It made sense. You might add, and it read well. You might add also, I would say this for everyone, you might add a sentence in your last paragraph of that introduction. The purpose of this paper is, or in this paper, you might just add that phrase. In this paper, I will explain the contrasting view of blah, blah, blah. So I would say that could go in that third paragraph.
And then I suppose we have to decide if we want, or if it's going to be acceptable, Professor Semmingson, for them to use I.
Oh, okay. Maybe this paper presents.
For a shorter work like this, maybe still don't use I. I would recommend that you don't use I. In a longer sort of paper later in your work for like a journal submission or something, then yeah, you can. Or if this is something that is connected to your own original research, something that you kind of generated yourself, then I think it could be okay. But otherwise, just to be safe.
That's true.
Don't you think?
Yeah, and I was just thinking you might only use I if you're presenting it as an oral presentation. This paper presents, or this paper analyzes, or this paper, that kind of thing, in third person.
Yeah, but otherwise you're right. When you give your oral presentations, when you show PowerPoints and you do that at the end of the class, when you're speaking to your classmates, then you can definitely do that. You can say I, we, then however you want for the presentation. For these, it's best just to use third person.
It looked good though.
I'm excited to look at those.
Yeah, and then we had Larissa.
I'm here. My essay, do you hear me?
Yep.
My essay is the essay about the problem of meaning, word meaning. And the purpose of this essay is to show, the purpose of this essay to show differences of classical and modern theories of meaning. I think that the word meaning problem is one of the main problems of classic and modern linguistics. The main problem of applied and theoretical linguistics. Meaning is a mystery for an ordinary person, because the ordinary person thinks why similar ideas about the word forms in the minds of different people, how they are fixed in the meaning of words. But the mystery, the meaning as a mystery, is for specialists too. This paper is influenced by the theory, some theories of Russian and Russian psychologists and psycholinguists. For example, Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky believes that meaning being attached to the word are the stable and inalienable categories of the sign. And this category are coordinated system of speech activity. This idea and the other ideas of these scientists are very important in modern linguistics and for my essay too. They are important for my essay too. and there is the first paragraph of my essay. The second paragraph is about transformation of the scientific paradigm in foreign and especially in Russian linguistics. And I show how this transformation led to a revision of many approaches of the individual mind structure, language science, and word meaning. Modern Russian linguistics turned to another opinion, and they think about the mind content of verbal science. And they talk about ways of getting, keeping, packing verbally, and transporting different types of knowledge. And they try to explain how human cognition works in the generation and conception of speech, which is a language ability is a cognitive ability, and how body and emotion make consciousness, what is the mental space, and other problems. Next, I try to show what the traditional view of meaning and what is the essence of new approaches. That's all.
Okay, that's great. This is all very, clear. I would say, are there any more citations you can add? Like when you say scientists, scientists and this. I'm typing in the chat window. That part where you say scientists and this, you can add a citation there, a common citation. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. Add a citation at the end of that.
For example.
Yeah. For example,
different position. It's a position. Some of this position is the position of structure, linguistic, and there are. I can count some names of these linguists. It is Vinogradov. There are Vinogradov, Shmelyov, and other linguists. But modern position modern positions are the position by modern psychology linguistics and psycholinguists. Zalewskaya, Vygotsky, Leontiev, and others. And maybe it's rationally to show this position, but not much.
Yeah.
Short. In short variant.
Okay. Like this. No, this makes sense. You just need a title.
Yeah.
That's the title.
Yeah, title to frame it.
I think that for your second essays, and you can tell me what you think, Professor Svenningsson. In the end, because today we're also going to be talking about different formats for your writing that are typically used in American universities or higher education in general, or in American academia. Not just American even. There's one style, if we have time, that we can talk about. There's well, we are going to cover mostly the APA style, MLA, and also Harvard style today. And it's going to consist of reviewing a lot of examples, but I think it's useful because if you're looking to publish or even write an essay in English for someone, then in an academic setting, then you're going to need to use a specific type of format. And so we're going to get to this, and then later, I think what we will do is towards the end, when your essay is finished, for example, or at any point now when you're writing it, to choose the style to choose APA, to choose MLA, to choose Harvard style, and to perhaps put it in a Word document and format it using those special specifications, for example.
Yeah.
And first, we're going to briefly go over outlining. And I'm curious to see if this is a process that any of you typically go through when you're writing something, when you're doing some of your work. So first of all, let's talk about what is an outline and do you use them? What is an outline and why or when do you use them? I'd like to hear from everyone. Let's first actually, maybe Dimitri, you can tell us what is an outline.
I think that outline it's a structure of the paper, which includes the main ideas and the main parts of the article. Maybe it's specific terms and conclusions, which I'm going to describe in the article.
Exactly. It's sort of like the skeleton of a paper, the bones of your paper. You've got your title, you typically write out your complete thesis statement, and then below that you have a structure for each of your body paragraphs all the way down to the conclusion. And I don't know what all of your experiences are, but this is something that's really, really common in American universities to begin with an outline. And oftentimes professors ask to see your outline. It's a process you'll spend a couple of weeks working on. And my question is, why, in your opinion, does an outline help produce a better paper? Anybody? Dimitri, if you wanted to answer.
I think the first reason to use outline is because the most difficult work in the paper preparation process is to fix the mistakes and the mistakes which are connected with the structure of the paper. And when I have a good outline, if it was done well, I can avoid the structure mistakes, and the structure of my article will be logical, and all parts will be connected well with each other. I think it's the main reason.
Yeah, exactly. Marina, what do you think? Do you typically use outlines, and do you think that they have a positive effect upon your paper?
I think it's very useful because it helps to логическую структуру.
Logical structure.
Logical structure. Create logical structure of my future scientific work.
Yeah, especially for these longer papers, if you're working on a dissertation or something, and you have so many points you need to make, so many subtopics, for example, then it's easy to, like Dimitri said, end up in a problem where the structure of your paper is just off, and in which case you need to use an outline. So I have a couple of examples here of outlines, and I'm curious how these differ or how they're similar to what you are used to. First of all, one thing I notice here is that there's no title. Typically in your outline, you'd need to have your title here, and if you're submitting it, you'd have to have your own information as well as your professor's information up here. for example. But we've got the thesis statement written out. Everyone wants the newest and the best digital technology, but the choices are many and the specifications are often confusing. Yeah. And now let's try to identify what are the main proofs and so the main points, the minor points, and the details, for example, or examples themselves. What's the evidence, the main points, the sort of sub points, and the evidence? How do we distinguish them here? How do we distinguish these? What's in the Roman numerals? We call these. How do we distinguish Roman numerals from the letters and the numbers? What makes these different? Olga, can you tell us? Your microphone is muted, Olga, by the way. What do you notice about what is different between the Roman numerals?
The Roman numerals show the different parts of an essay, right? Like different paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
And the letters ABC, they show different parts of the one paragraph.
Yeah, it could be. You could possibly even, yeah, this could almost be, well, these are subsections, right, within it. It seems like this is a lot within one paragraph. I wonder if you could even divide it further, but you're right, this main division of how it works. And then what about these? The numbers. Okay, you can answer to that one too.
It's like arguments that prove the statement on the letter A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. These are the more specific examples. They're the sort of concrete proof, case in point. Here's our second. Why does that look different to me? I don't think we need to. Here we have a couple of examples. Here, this outline doesn't include complete sentences. This is really the only complete sentence, the thesis statement. So this is one way to do it, and other times people prefer or demand even that the outline be written in complete sentences, each and every point. And actually, the more detailed you can be in an outline, the better. Makes it easier, in fact. And here we even have sort of concluding statement at the very end. So this would be relatively easy to write once you have all of this information here. And this was really interesting. Found this on Purdue website, reverse outlining. Reverse outlining. And this is something that I've done on occasion. I found it really useful. Maybe we could just read through this together before we move on to discussion of some of the other formats. Larissa, do you want to begin reading this for us?
Yes, this page is отсюда.
Maybe.
This exercise is useful for either difficult text that you must read, or as a way to revise your work to organization and clarity.
You can read some more.
Yes, just a moment. Reverse outlining, an exercise for taking notes and revising your work. Some assignment. That's all?
No, you can keep going. I just said taking notes. It looks like talking, but we're missing our out there. An exercise for taking notes and revising your work. And read one more paragraph.
Some assignments ask you to read and then analyze complex information. In this case, the reverse outlining can help you distill the main ideas into short, clear statements. You may also use reverse outlining to revise your own work. Reverse outlining follows to a two-step, repeatable process.
Okay, now you can stop there, and we'll have, let's have Olga read number 1.
In the left-hand margin, write down the topic of each paragraph. Try to use as few words as possible. When reading, these notes should work as quick references for future study or in class discussion. When revising your own work, these notes should tell you if each paragraph is focused and clear.
Great. Marina?
In the right-hand margin, write down how the paragraph's topic advances the overall argument of the text. Again, be brief. When reading, these notes allow you to follow the logic of the essay, making it easier for you to analyze or discuss later. When revising your own work, these notes should tell you if each paragraph fits in the overall organization of your paper. You may also notice that paragraphs should be shifted after completing this step.
Dmitry?
Be brief, particularly when rewriting your own work. If you can't complete each step in 5 to 10 words, the paragraph may need to be altered. You should be able to summarize the topic and the manner of the part quickly. If you can't, revise the paragraph until you can.
And does everyone know, for example, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the word margin? Margin. For example, it talks about the left-hand margin. Left-hand margin is the space that's always on the left side of the page. And then, I'm not sure. I don't even know what that is in Russian, actually. Left-hand margin versus the right-hand margin. But it's important to know the word, I suppose, because when you're writing and you need certain specifications, they'll say you need to have 12-point font and margins that are 1 inch on each side, or however many centimeters. So this is when it's important to know what a margin is and what your specifications are. Yeah, is this a process that anyone does, reverse outlining? And do you think it would be useful? Larissa, do you ever do this, reverse outlining of your own work or when you're reading someone else's work? Your mic's muted, by the way. There you go. I unmuted you. So do you ever do the reverse outlining? And is it clear what it is? Is it clear what reverse outlining is? Anyone? Is it clear? How is reverse outlining different?
It's like taking notes on your own essay.
Yeah. So this isn't something, it happens in reverse, right? You're not writing the outline first and then writing the paper. You already have a paper in front of you, and you're making an outline based upon that paper. Could be your own work, could be someone else's. So has anyone ever done this? Anybody?
I've had it done to me.
Yeah.
My advisor on my dissertation would do this thing. Maybe that's different than, I don't know. It was like she was editing it, but she would go through and make sure it was really clear.
Yeah. I've done this especially when I want to be really critical of something that I've written, or if I need to compare or analyze another text, and I'm really paying attention to detail and looking at the structure, then it's pretty useful. Does anybody else have any questions about this, or comments, or anecdotes about how they've used it? Dimitri, what about you?
No.
No, nothing? Okay.
No.
Okay. No, that's okay. I think now it might be best if we moved on to talking about, Professor Samuelson, do you want to talk about annotations or annotated bibliographies now, or do you want to talk about APA?
I'll do APA, yeah, since it connects really closely with what we're doing.
Okay, and do you need me to pass you the,
That might help. Yeah, I'll just go through and share some examples. Okay. Let me go ahead and send you guys a link, and it's from the Purdue OWL. Can everybody look in the, so hi again. Can everybody look in the chat window? I posted a link with APA. So you might want to bookmark that site. Let's see. So APA is a form, I'm going to cut and paste in here. Oh, thanks for passing me the one or whatever. So APA, who's familiar with APA, American Psychological Association? Or APA? Is anyone familiar with it? I've seen the citations that you are using in your essays so far, and they seem to be similar to APA. So, for example, here, can everyone see the whiteboard that says APA parenthetical citations?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
You all see that? Okay. And so go through and use the pen and underline any parenthetical citations. And tell me what you're tell me what you're observing. Go ahead and speak. And like, what are you observing? We'll do this inductively at first, and then I'll explain a little. So underline or circle any that you see parenthetical citations where we cite within the text, where we state an author's name. What are you observing about this format? Any thoughts? Anyone want to share?
What do you notice about the citations, everyone? How are authors being cited? What's the typical form or format?
So we have, this study was framed using a narrative, this is a methods paragraph on a research paper. And there's that word that I was recommending earlier. Using a narrative method of inquiry, parentheses, Polkinghorne, comma, 1988, semicolon. I think I should have had a semicolon there, actually, after Reisman. Reisman, 1993, Wortham, 2001. So if we have more than one citation, I think Larissa, today was saying there were multiple authors she could have cited, so she just put, for example, in parentheses. But in this case, I wanted to reference some key people. You put them in alphabetical order, so P, R, and then W. So if you have multiple authors, you put the author's last name, comma, the year, semicolon, and then you continue on in alphabetical order, A through Z. And let's see. And then, so basically it's just author's last name and year. However, look at towards the bottom, I have a direct quote. And since I'm using quotation marks, she says, comma, quote, many scholars turn to narrative study. I'm directly quoting, so then I have to put the page number in parentheses after the quote is over. And this always was confusing to me because I always wanted to put the page number inside the parentheses. But the rule for APA is you put the page after the quote if anyone's using quotes and if you choose to use APA. So I think that is something to make note of. Do you want to add anything, Professor Storm, on parenthetical citation?
Well, just perhaps we could say what sorts of disciplines use APA.
Yeah, okay. So I wonder if it says it social sciences, so anything in social sciences. I know my field, education, even though it's interdisciplinary, is considered a social science. We study children and people. But also, I'm thinking it would include like anthropology. It would probably, I don't know that it would include economics. I think political science has its own citation style, but generally like psychology, sociology, education. Can you think of anything else?
That was mainly what I was thinking as well. And I was looking, since we have a lot of linguists in here, the style that they should be using, and it looks as though for linguists, you could, in theory, use either APA or MLA. I thought it would probably be APA, but again, it can be MLA. It depends on, I suppose, for whom you are writing, or for which journal, and that's why, again, you have to pay close attention. I personally, maybe I prefer APA, although I've written a lot, and MLA just reminds me a lot of undergraduate studies, for example. It's MLA is more for humanities, right? And arts, those sorts of things, yet also linguistics. But I'd say that APA is a pretty safe bet.
Okay, here's another example from a paper we had come out last year. And so you'll see again, we had, can everyone see where it says research of the 1970s and 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Can you all see? So we had like we had all these authors, author's last name, comma, year, semicolon, author's last name, oh, and we use an ampersand instead of and. Gambrill, Wilson, and Gant, but with an ampersand, that little mark. And then comma, year, and then semicolon. We use semicolons to separate multiple authors. And then they're in alphabetical order, so that's the other thing about parenthetical citation. We can also put the author's name outside of the paragraph, like here, Brophy and Good, in parentheses, 1970s. These are kind of dated. These citations are a little bit old, but we were referring to some seminal research. So most of the time they like to see more recent, right? Let's see. And I think that's it. This is just similar to the one I just showed you. Any questions on parenthetical citations? They typically come at the end of the sentence. So parenthetical. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Just like Professor Semmingson said, remember that there are different ways to do this. You can either make a statement and then list the author's name and the date of the publication in the parentheses, or don't forget, like she mentioned here, you can say Brophy and Good, and then specifically just in parentheses have the year of that publication. That's fine as well.
Yeah,
because so the key information that you need is there. And then at the end of this quotation, we also include the page number. So different ways to do this, but the important information is there.
Yeah, and the page number comes after the quote mark. Let's see, and then I just wanted to share, the link I just sent has the OWL link. We'll post that on the blog too, the OWL link, and we're in the 6th edition of APA, again, that's social science. I wanted to share the end references. These go, are we including end references?
Yeah, I think so.
If I create a new whiteboard, will everyone see it?
Yep, I see it.
So I think I actually need spaces between, but they're hanging indentation. The first one got a little messed up here, excuse me. But you'll see they're hanging indentation, and I'm citing the author's last name, and then first 2 initials, period, the year, period, and then in lowercase, if it's a journal, the name of the article is in lowercase, so only the first word is capital. And then the title of the journal is capital letters for the first words and italicized. And then I have the volume and page number.
You'll notice that the differences in styles here, for example, between APA and MLA they're most noticeable, at least in my opinion, when you get to this page. It can actually be called different things. It can either say references, it can say works cited, or it could say bibliography. Which word you use at the top depends upon which format you're using. And that's why it's important to know and to choose one format and stick to it. And for example, where the year will come in these final citations, or here in the last sort of reference page, that again depends on the format, and as well as capitalization of titles. In MLA, this would probably be, each of these words would be, not each of them, but would be capitalized. For example, readers and don't, get, read, much, reading, groups, and we don't capitalize to and in, right?
Yes, that's all. I think that's all I have for that. I was just gonna share one last thing. On my, on our resumes or Vitas, they're listed by year of publication. So this was from my Vita. These are my publications. And then they're not listed by alphabetical order, but instead of in reverse, is that right? Reverse chronological order from most recent to most distant in time.
Mm-hmm.
So. But we're not doing Vitas or resumes.
Yeah, this is good though.
But, and then the DOI is new. It kind of confuses me. But the APA OWL site will tell you how to cite this. We're now, if there's a link to the article, we add that link. So DOI, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a way to link directly to an article.
Mm-hmm.
And that is explained on the OWL site. That's for recent journal articles that have a DOI URL link. So I don't know if we want to go into that. That's a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
So we'll skip it for now. Okay, well, that's all I had, Professor Storm, for APA overview. So annotated bibliography. I just had a link for annotated bibliography, which I put in the chat window.
If any of you have questions about these different formats, make sure you use this owl.english.purdue.edu site. They have a lot of really great stuff, and I've even used this when I need to write something in a particular format that I'm not used to. Then I go and I look at the guidelines so that I make sure I follow it very, very closely. So that's what we would recommend that you do as well, so use those. And I'm curious, I'd like to hear from all of you as well about how does this APA style, does it differ from what you're used to? What you're used to in your own sort of scholarship, or when you're writing, when you cite things? How does it work? What are your options in Russian academia? What are your options for citations?
I think it's not very different from Russian.
Yeah, seems to be pretty similar then. Do you have a wide array of choices?
No.
No. And so what are the main rules for that?
Main rules? Mm-hmm.
As usual, we use in text square brackets. Square brackets.
Square brackets, okay.
Not round.
Yeah, and that's interesting because we don't typically use those very often. There's one thing that you can do within parentheses. If you're quoting someone, I'll give you an example. I'll just blah, 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 and then say if somebody misspells a word or if there's something that's not accurate, then you can use brackets and write sick. And that just shows that it shows that the author or the person whom you're quoting made a mistake, and it's not your mistake. So that's one of the only times I can really think of using brackets. Professor Sevingson, do you know of any others that I'm leaving out?
No, and it's like a note from you as an author. If you're adding, it's like your own internal thought. Supplementing what you're posting. I don't do that too often.
Or occasionally I've seen, for example, if you're translating something into English, or I've translated some things from Russian into English, and I would include at the end author's translation. You don't always have to do this. You don't always have to do this, but you can. In some cases, they might tell you to take it out, or in some cases specify, is this your translation or someone else's? Because it can make a difference, right? Especially if something's translated incorrectly, then it can make a difference. Okay, so what else? Yeah.
And we can use not only comma before page number. We can use colon as well as comma.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, colon and page.
And that also depends on the format that you're using, because Professor Semming said, I think it's the same for us, right? In certain formats, you can say.
See in chat from my article.
Differences, Larissa?
Yeah.
Ordinary citing.
Excited.
In the end, after the main page of article, and in the body of article, maybe this variant. I show you some. Just a moment.
Sure.
Maybe this variant.
Yeah. I'm going to show you a couple of other things now. I'm going to share my screen because, Peggy, Professor Semmingson, can I have the host rights back, please?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
There we go. Were you going to
variant?
I was going to show you another variant. Okay, first let's go here. Actually, can everyone see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
MLA formatting. Modern Language Association is what MLA stands for. So typically within liberal arts and humanities, from the 7th edition, citation style chart. Again, this is another really great place to go if you have questions about this. General guidelines, yeah. So the typical, this requires double spacing the text. Some don't, especially if you're writing for a journal, might not be. And the typical go-to font is Times New Roman. I don't know. In Russian, is it also when you're writing the Times New Roman font is the
Times New Roman. Times New Roman.
Yeah. Yeah. One space, 1-inch margins. Again, there's the margins. Indenting. Your header, so what's in the center or the top of your page. You're going to number all the pages in the upper right-hand corner. That sometimes depends as well. And it's important to know when to use italics or underlining or quotation marks, those sorts of things. You need to know when to do that. Endnotes, include them on a separate page before your work's cited. Endnotes. here's an example of a first page. Here's an example of our first page. This is, I don't know if you all do this, but it's really common.
We have right corner. In right corner.
Yeah. Most of ours, so I'd
Not
say
left, but right.
Carly Storm, Professor Peggy Semingson, Academic English, with the date. And then here you'll notice that the title is not underlined, it's not in bold. Each of our paragraphs is indexed, you can see the margins. Section headings and books, and here we don't need to go through all of this, but you can see individual, how to cite, for example, or even just citing this website. Name, period, title, date of access. Yeah, you need to put the date that you accessed something, the last date that it was edited. Yeah, pretty obvious for that. Again, just remember the site, Online Writing Lab OWL, and you can find down here MLA, APA, probably lots of others if you search as well. And this is MLA versus APA. So again, MLA used in humanities, English, theater, art, APA, social sciences. Similarities, maybe I'll have somebody read so I'm not just talking at you. Dimitri, can you read the first similarity between MLA and APA?
The paper is double-spaced as well as the reference of works cited page. The citation has a hinging indent.
Exactly. And then the next point here is an important difference that we just talked about before. Your last page in MLA, it is a works cited page. In APA, it is a references. Yeah, it says references at the top. And here we write both the first name and the last name. So first the last name, and then we spell out the entire first name. And then in APA, you don't have to. Storm, comma, K, period. Whereas in MLA, Storm, comma, Carly. Here we can see here. When information is cited and the author's name is listed within a sentence, the page number found at the end. These are both pretty similar. Similarities. Obviously, citations are listed alphabetically. This is one thing that I'm used to doing. One thing I wonder how it is how you're used to it is when you're quoting someone, and if it's longer than 4 lines, then what I'm used to doing is it's blocked, meaning you have to go tab over 2 times in sort of what I've been used to doing is putting them in bold as well and in 10-point font. I thought this was a useful handout.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I forgot you could see this. Here's another example of a paper that we've got here. I'm not as interested in this as it's rather obvious, but look at our works cited page. Double-spaced. As you can see, we have the capitalization here, like I mentioned before. Capitalization and our quotation marks, and certain things like this in italics. There are also special ways for personal interviews, telephone interviews, and here as well. Web, when you accessed it, or web when it was published, the link, and then perhaps when you accessed it. I have a really good source actually for all of you. I will pull it up now to show you. I love this, and if you don't have a program called RefWorks, have you heard of this program RefWorks? If you haven't, then I won't really go into detail in terms of. Oh, get out of my way here! I can't. Okay. then I'll just talk about this instead, because RefWorks is offered through specific universities, otherwise you're going to have to pay for it. But it helps you generate your works cited, your bibliography, your reference page. And it gives you different choices here. MLA, APA, Chicago. So let's say here I want APA. I want APA. It's going to take me there. Perhaps. Maybe it's MLA that it does. Well, we'll start with MLA anyway. You can either put in, I'll put in this website. It's going to give you an example of a call for submissions. We'll see what happens. It comes up in a lot of cases just the information that you need. You might have to fill in. My computer's being slow, but you can choose here between these different things, and it knows how to do this, and it's really great. Again, some universities offer a program that's RefWorks, where you can connect that directly to Microsoft Word, and with this program you can also change rather quickly your format. It does the heavy lifting for you. But otherwise, keep this in mind. It's really useful, because think of how long it takes you to format things. It could take a really long time if you have to switch from APA to MLA or to Chicago. It could be the biggest pain in the universe. So now let's look. Let's look at a specific call for journal entries. This is with the publisher Taylor and Francis Online. And they publish a number of journals. But this here, I tried to find something that had something to do with language studies here. And so I don't know if you can see all of my screen. Let's try to find some of, can you read this, by the way? I can always do this as well. Maybe I will try to, if it lets me, I could try to copy and paste this and put this on our whiteboard. I will stop for a moment, and then we can sort through and figure out what information we need if we wanted to publish in this journal. Of course, it's not letting me do it. That's lovely. Life, technology. I'm going to complain. I'm going to share this again. Okay, manuscript submission. Let's have Olga. Can you read some of this for us?
Oh, the font's very small.
Yes, I'm sorry. Maybe I can put this in the chat then. Let me see what I can do. Yes, okay. There's a lot, so you don't have to read all of it. Do you see it?
Yeah, we have to scroll down.
So, Olga, you can start reading.
Manuscripts should be double-spaced, including title page, text, tables, charts, references, notes, and appendixes, and should be prepared according to the guidelines of the publication manual of the American Psychological Association edition. The title page should include the title of the manuscript, names and affiliations of all authors, name, address, phone and fax numbers, and email address of the corresponding author, and running head of no more than letters and spaces.
Okay, let's stop there and have Dimitri continue.
Sorry, but I don't see the text. In which tab should I?
In which?
I don't see.
It's all okay. Oh, and then it cut it off a little bit. There, I typed your part for you. Do you see?
The second page.
I'm looking for the tab, the window with this text.
You just start with the second
Yes,
page.
second.
The second page should include the manuscript title.
It's just the last bit that I typed and start at the very top of it.
Let's say I'm reading.
Okay.
The second page should include the manuscript title, but no author identification, and an abstract of not more than 150 words, as well as the word count. Either American or British should be used, spelling consistently within an article. Manuscripts should normally be no more than 25 to 30 double-spaced pages, including references, notes, and tables. Minimize the number of notes. All parts of the manuscripts should be typewritten with a margin of at least 1 inch and all sides. Number manuscript page.
You put them. I added it. Number manuscript pages, and then next it says consecutively throughout. You can keep reading, Larissa.
Consecutively throughout the paper. Consecutively throughout the paper. Tables and figures should be separate files from the manuscript and should not be embedded within the text. There should be an indication on the text as to where they occur.
Okay, great. Let's go, Marina.
Just a moment. Please please contact the editors to inquire about undertaking a review. Unsolicited reviews will not be accepted. Reviews should be between 1,500 and 2,000 words. Guidelines are the same as for articles. Only original work not previously published and not currently under review elsewhere will be considered. Contributions should be in English and will be reviewed anonymously. After acceptance, a final version of the article will be required on a diskette as well as in hard copy. Contributors will need to return signed publication agreements as part of the process in submitting the final manuscript.
Yeah.
That's all.
So as you can see, these calls are very specific. There's a format. It tells you everything from the type, the margins, to whether or not you can include charts, graphs, illustrations, where they should be located. Very, very specific. And if you don't follow these guidelines, chances are that you might not even make it past the review stage, for example, or the editors might decide not to use it if it just clearly violates all the rules that they set out here. So have you noticed any differences in this process in reading a call for journal submissions in a journal like this versus in a Russian academic journal? Do you notice any differences?
It's rather similar.
That's definitely good then. I mean, it's not going to be a big surprise.
It's similar.
As usual, it should be original work, not previously published.
And are articles typically peer-reviewed?
But if you use the previous article, your article, you have to cite your article in your article. And if there are some authors, not one author, some journals require show part of each author as a comment to your article.
Like a contribution, like how much
Contribution.
is that, like a percent? I like that because sometimes 1%. And if it is 1%, they should, you know, to be fair.
Yeah. I realize this might be sort of a dry, not extremely interesting topic today. At least from my part, Professor Simonson's was more interactive, but on the other hand, it is necessary in any academic English course. You must talk about these different formats because some people just don't know that there are so many different options and that you really must pay attention to. You must know what's being demanded of you. And so the best thing that I can do right now, since we can't exactly teach you in an hour and 20 minutes specifically how to write everything, how to cite every different type of source there is in APA or MLA, what we could do was give you some general examples and definitely places to look when you have questions so that you know in the future, okay, I know I want to use APA or I know I want to use MLA, but I don't know specifically what I need to do, but I can go to this website and this will give me an idea. Or, okay, it's time to do my works cited page or my references page. There's this easybibliography.com site that will help me along, make the process a little bit faster. So again, we could just give you some suggestions just to make your life a bit easier and to know what to expect when you're publishing in the English language. And also, what I was going to mention today, but there wasn't enough time, was there's a style that is demanded relatively often in Western Europe, and it is called the Harvard style. From what I can tell, this is very similar to APA. Yeah, I can write that. Yep, Harvard there. Harvard style.
Yeah.
Harvard style. And I was recently asked to make sure that something I wrote conformed to the guidelines of the Harvard style. And when I looked on the internet about the guidelines for this, it was used a lot in the UK, for example. I think also I noticed quite a few Australian universities made use of Harvard, sort of the standard, the go-to format, whereas in the United States it might be MLA or APA. So that's another option, but you have many options. But I would say for this essay, perhaps stick to either APA, MLA, Harvard, or Chicago if you want. Just be sure you know why you chose that style. You want to know how most people write in your field and what format they typically use. So do it for your own reasons that are directly connected to your research and your field of study. So don't just choose randomly. So next week what we're going to do is continue with the fun of our essay writing. So that's, again, the assignment for next week is to write more. Professor Semmingsen and I will look at your paragraphs today or tomorrow and provide you with feedback, more detailed feedback. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
May I ask a question about what is the rule for capitalization in titles of articles? Because I see in some titles all words are capitalized, but in other titles only the first word. Which words in the
Exactly.
title should be capitalized? Do you help me?
Yeah. Okay, so what I've
Yeah.
noticed is that in MLA, you capitalize everything in the title except
Mhm.
for articles and prepositions.
Mhm.
So, of course, naturally you capitalize a, an, or the if it's the first word in the title. But otherwise, a, and, the, or in, on, with, those sorts of words are not capitalized in MLA. But everything else
Mhm.
is. Everything else is. So those are the typical rules for publishing official names of things, right? And Professor Semmingsen, correct me if I'm wrong, but in APA, and this is also Harvard, what I noticed, in your reference page, just the first word
Yes.
of the source,
Yeah.
of the title of the source.
Yeah, I just wrote that on the whiteboard. Exactly. I don't know if people can see it. Yeah, generally APA uses lowercase for titles, even titles of books, which goes against what most of us learned. And so that's something different about APA. There's another website called Citation Machine and Son of Citation Machine, where you can type in your information and it will help you format.
Yeah, can you put that in the chat for everyone too, Professor Semmingsen?
Yeah, I'll try to see if we can get it on the blog.
Oh, okay, now I see this now. Yeah, does everyone see it? Just showed up for me. Citation Machine, Son of a Citation Machine. Again, when you're doing these last pages where you're citing all of your sources, I gave you the easybibliography.com. If you're having problems with that, or if you prefer to use any of these other ones, these are ways to make your life a little bit easier. Yeah. And so does that kind of answer your question, Dimitri?
No.
No, it didn't?
I have no question.
Oh, but your question about the
Yes,
question
thank
about
you.
your capitalization.
Yes,
But
yes.
no matter what your format is, the first word of the title, that first letter, is always going to be capitalized, just like the first and last name of somebody is always capitalized. Those are the rules that will continue forever.
Mhm.
Those sorts of things. But there's that main difference between MLA and APA and Harvard. So again, check these out, guys, if you need any help generating your reference pages, your works cited, your bibliography pages, whatever your format is going to call that page. So again, keep writing your essays, and next week I'm going to ask that you tell us what format you're thinking of using and why. So you're going to write more and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to use APA, or I'm going to use MLA, I'm going to use Harvard, I'm going to use Chicago, and this is why. And it doesn't have to be more than just 2 sentences. This is what I'm using, this is why. Because the main focus of your assignment is your writing your essay. That's the most important thing. But we also need to see that you've chosen a format. Okay. Well, guys, if there are no other questions, anyone else? Marina or Olga, do you have questions?
No, I don't.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Larissa, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys, and thank you for your patience. And next week we're going to talk more about academic conversation. So that should be really interesting. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you,
Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you, guys.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, let's see, Olya's still here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can post the links we mentioned today to the blog. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I can post some links. Can you send me
Yeah, I'll send you what I kind of shared. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good, because I'm sure I'll forget otherwise.
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now, or I'll forget too.
Yeah. And what else? So next week we have academic conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll write here. It just says, what does it say? It doesn't have, yeah, it just says present the topic for laymen, examples of presenting the topic in a conversational style for a broader audience.
Would that be like oral?
Yeah.
Present the topic for laymen, examples of presenting the topic.
Yeah.
I wonder, should we share any videos?
It would be nice. I just wonder, because okay, and Olga left now. I don't want to be like, yeah, I have no idea what we're doing.
That's okay. Yeah, I wonder if we could share examples that would take some more prep, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, translating to something we did for the layman. Or is this writing? I can't remember the intention.
Well, it says academic conversation, conversational style. You know, we could do both. We could do oral and written,
Yeah,
because they could definitely. And so for some of these, I'm thinking that would be useful.
Marina. Yeah, Marina, the polycode.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And so, yeah, I think hers was the least clear.
Yeah.
Or more jargon filled. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the oral and the written, can they do some speaking?
I would love for them to do some
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure they would like that too.
Okay. So we could each share examples of oral and written.
Yeah. What was this? Because then after that, we're getting into then we have 2 weeks before. Well, actually, technically 3 weeks before they start giving presentations, because they're supposed to.
Okay.
Next week will be week 9, and they don't do their presentations until weeks 12 and 13. So we have weeks 9, 10, and 11. But to me,
maybe share some phrases that would help them in describing things in more general terms.
Yeah.
I can try to find examples of presenting in a conversational style.
Yeah, that would be good. And then I can look too. I'm just not really sure what to do with that to make it stretch, for.
Yeah.
But I guess at least an hour, because we could spend the first 20 minutes talking about their writing.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's a video, but maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could find something from like a popular show or.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we could find something.
Yeah. Didn't you share the Joey one?
Yeah.
One time? Okay.
Yeah, or from a video. Those are always kind of nice too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the videos.
There was once when with some of the other classes that I don't work with much anymore, we were talking about traveling, and I shared with them from the scene from Meet the Fockers, where
Yeah.
they lose his bag, and then he says something like, "You're gonna have to take it from my cold dead hands" or something.
yeah.
When they try to take it the next time, and then it's not like I have a bomb in here.
Yeah.
Bomb, 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 bomb.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, good. Yeah, I like humor. Well, I can try to find some examples of the conversation and writing.
Yeah, that'd be good if you just have any ideas, and then
Yeah,
we try to get a plan worked out.
Yeah, I'll try to. You want me to send like an outline in the next few days?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Are you pretty busy?
Yeah, I'm just just one of those. I was working on an abstract of my own within like the 5 minutes of joining the class, and the deadline is tomorrow, and I'm
Oh Lord, yeah, I know.
just one of those things.
It's always another deadline.
Yeah, I know. And then I still take some language classes on the side, and finish is difficult, and I had a finish final exam.
You sound like I have a twin sister. She's visiting. She's doing a PhD. She works full time as an assistant professor in physical therapy, and she has a 5-year-old.
Mhm.
So
yeah, it's sort of. I'm ready. I have a little bit of wine in the refrigerator and another bottle that I might need to open. It's only Wednesday, but.
To chill, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I actually have to run to some meetings at EPA.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Just let me know, and I'll be in touch, and I'll do the grading for today, and I'll give the next assignment probably tomorrow. So.
I'll write to you shortly with some links.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon on email, Charlie.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you later. Bye, Peggy.